Today we will read Standard 10 English, a supplementary reader. The first chapter, A Trump of Surgery. The book name is Food Spilling Without Footprint. The first chapter is A Trump of Surgery. Now let's get started. I was really worried about Tricky this time. I had pulled up my car when I saw him in the street with his mistress, and I was shocked at his appearance. He had become huge fat, like a bloated sausage with a leg at each corner. His eyes bloodshot and rim started straight ahead and his tongue low to form his jaws. Mrs. Pomfrey hastened to explain he was so listed. Mr. Heriot, he seemed to have no energy. I thought he must be suffering from malnutrition. So I have been giving him some little extras between holics at night to make him sleep, nothing much really. And did you cut down on the sweet things as I told you? Oh, I did a bit, but he seemed to speak. I had brilliant too. I had looked down again at the little dog. This was the trouble. Tricky only for was grief. He had never been to refuse food. He would tackle a meal at any hour of day or night. And I wondered about all the things Mrs. Pomfrey hadn't mentioned. Are you giving him plenty of exercise? Means Tricky, but Mrs. Pomfrey was a pet dog. That name is Tricky. But Mrs. Pomfrey giving him so much food, and sometimes he was very fat because he nothing do anything. He only eat and sleep. So that is why he was very fat. But here is a Android. Are you giving him plenty of exercise? He asked that Mrs. Pomfrey, are you giving plenty of exercise? He means Tricky. Well, he was a little dwarf of him as you see, but holding at the gardener has been down with lumbago, so where there has been a ringing down lately. I tried to sound savory. Now I really mean this. If you don't pay at the right down and give him exercise, he is going to really miss. You must harden your heart and keep him a very strict diet. Mrs. Pomfrey wrung his hands. Oh, I'm very right. Down, you are right. But it is so difficult, so very difficult. She set off down along the road, as if he determined to put the new regime practices immediately. I watched their progress with grown concern. Tricky was totally along his little crowd. He had a whole wardrobe of this wind of the whole coulter and raincoat for wet days. He struggled to pin in the harness. I thought it would be a long before from his Mrs. Pomfrey. After the expected call come within a few days, Mrs. Pomfrey discovered Tricky was good, nothing. Refused even his favorite dishes, but he could not eat. He didn't want to do anything. I had made my plans in advance. There was no to get Tricky out of the house for a period. I suggested that he hospitalized for a fortnight to keep under observation. The poor lady almost soon. She was sure he would find or he would not see anywhere. But I took a firm line. Tricky was very ill, and this was only to save him. In fact, I thought it best to take him without delay. Followed by Mrs. Pomfrey Wallings, I marched out to the car carrying the little dog wrapped in a blanket. The entire staff was roused and maids rushed in out bringing the supper favorites, cushions, toys, and rubber things. Breakfast roll, once bowl, super bowl, realizing that my car would never hold at a side. Drip cry. There's an armful of the little coats through the window. I looked before the mirror. I cornered turner of everybody was in tears. Out of the road, I gazed down at the pathetic little girl, grasping on the tail. So what happened that the dogs are swimming for a few seconds because the dog was very ill. Is I'm right? Then I made up a bread for him, a warm loose box into the second day, and he started to whisper, and we had the dogs in the ear. When I opened the door, Tricky trotted out, Miss Haryazawa, and was immediately ungoved by the Joe the Great Down and his friends. After rolling him, the Tricky was followed in the mention. When the Tricky was present, not in a feeding time, I once his well trousers sloped the floor into the bowls. There was the usual howling rush, found the sounds of high speed. There was a usual howling rush followed by the sounds of high speed every. Some talk of the queue of the behind the others. He was really some competition for the last part of this meal. When they had finished, Tricky took a walk around the shining bowl, licking casually inside one or two of them. Next day, an extra bowl put up after him, and I pleased to him, dustling in his way towards one of the rapid. He had a medical friendly scrimmages. He discovered the joys of being bowled over, tranging and squashed every few minutes. He had accepted neuter of the tiger for a shake at the mealtime, and hunting rats in the whole house at night. He had never such a time in his life at the while Mrs. Pomfrey here in the background, drinking a dozen times a day for the latest bulletins. I dogged his correct code was according to the waiter, but afterwards I was able to the little fellow was danger and a quabble zingy, clothing his minute chinti to Java. Scram to the something Mrs. Kenya and started to bring rouse flingly. Mrs. Pomfrey came to dinner Tricky spent for a happy period my partners, and I took for each break. But when the bottles of wine began to arrive, the possibilities of the situation began to dawn, and the household with interest Tricky's blood. The lunch became a crucial of the 2 glasses of the wine before and several during the meal. We could hardly believe that he wanted to a branch of the broadly came out to the final age on Tricky's constitution. For a few nights, the finished spirit was rolled around, inhale and divinely drunk. They were a days of deep conscience, starting well with the extra egg hurriedly down on the fire with brandy. It was a temptation to keep Tricky as a permanent guest. But I knew Mrs. Pomfrey was suffering, and after a fortnight, felt compelled to phone and tell her that the little dog has recovered and went in connection. Within minutes, about 30 minutes of the turning of the black down of the dew of the outdoor surgery. The shuffle moved of the and I could just around the figure of the Mrs. Pomfrey almost lost in the interior. Her hands were lying in the straps in front of her. Her lips trembled. Oh, Mr. Heriot, do you tell me the truth is really better? Yes, fine. There's no need for you to get out of the car. I will go and fetch him. I walked through the house into the garden, a mass of dogs and the howling round and round the tall, and they are missed. Miss Mane to chokgulo bor bor kore dekhchilo. Kartik or Maliki Mrs. Pomfrey dike. Ears fluffing train the well and the little goal of the Tricky that he under keeping his arm around the pack and squishing the down of the box. In the case and brushing the down of the passes in the front of the house, the chauffeur was feeling the crowd of the pool when Tricky saw his mistress. He took off my arms in the train and sleep sending into the Mrs. Pomfrey. And then he licking of the face and doing the excitement. I helped the chauffeur to bring had been the refused Mrs. Pomfrey and out of the window. Tears in the ears, his lips trembled. Oh, Mr. Heriot, she cried, how can I ever thank you? This is Trump of surgery.